What is Gareth Southgate's problem on the day Ben White receives his biggest and best Arsenal or professional football contract, the biggest of his whole career? Gareth Southgate decides on that day to throw him under the bus. What kind of message does that send to wannabe England players? I want to hear everyone's thoughts on this. Why do you think Gareth Southgate has said that about Ben White? But just quickly, before we get into it, if you could, do me the favour of giving me a thumbs up on this video if you enjoy this type of content. So let's get into it. And I find it quite funny as well because, you know, there has been some backlash about Ben White. You know, a lot of people, media outlets, rival fans saying, oh, it's a joke. He should never play for England again. The fact he's decided to turn down his country. But I think a lot of people, from what I'm seeing, I've actually realised there's probably more to this story than initially meets the eye. And I think that's kind of the way that I'm looking at it, because all I think Gareth Southgate's doing is leaning into the narrative that Ben White doesn't like playing for his country. You know, there is a narrative out there. Ben White doesn't really like football, doesn't really like playing football, doesn't like watching football. But I think the truth is far from that, because we've seen Sky Sports actually done a good job recently. Sky Sport Retro come out and put an interview out saying about Ben White, how happy he was to first receive his England call-up. And, you know, he said that he was on the phone to his mum and he couldn't stop crying with how happy he was. Him and his mum was crying on the phone because they were so happy that he got this England call-up. That was only a few years ago. So how has it gone from that to Ben White doesn't want to play for his country? Ben White's a disgrace. Ben White should never wear the shirt again. I think there is definitely more to this story. And Gareth Southgate come out and said there's not been a problem between Ben White and me or my backroom staff. And since then, a couple of journalists have actually put out a story saying, no, we have it on confirmed information, that's an absolute lie. And there's actually been arguments between Ben White and someone from Gareth Southgate's coaching staff. So Gareth Southgate has been caught lying, but I don't know why. Like, why is he trying to push away a player that could benefit this squad in so many different positions, really? You know, he could play right back for England, but in my opinion, you know, this is a centre-back. It's a natural centre-back. And if you're looking at England's centre-backs, for me, John Stones and Ben White would make a formidable centre-back partnership for England. But Gareth Southgate seems too stubborn to want to actually make that happen. You know, Gareth Southgate, we're being sold on Gareth Southgate that he's this guy that, you know, he's a people pleaser. He can bring anyone together. So why is he not being able to mend this relationship between himself and Ben White, or Ben White and the guy behind the scenes for England? If Gareth Southgate really is this man manager, surely he won't have a problem with patching this relationship up, and he needs to do it for the benefit of the team. Look, I understand it's unlikely. Ben White's not going to play for England while Gareth Southgate's the manager. That seems quite clear to me and many others. But just look at the centre-backs we're playing. You know, we're taking Harry Maguire. You're telling me Ben White's not a better player than Harry Maguire? Even some of our right-backs, we know we've got injuries in these positions. Ben White can come for England, you know, and start, in my opinion, either right-back or centre-back in these couple of games we got coming up. Try and get in some form, try and mould him into this England team, and then take him to the Euros. To me, it's just a baffling decision to throw Ben White under the bus instead of trying to mend that relationship. That's just my opinion. Let me know your thoughts on that. So if we're looking in other news for today for Arsenal, it's very quiet. You know, there's a lot of football games on over this weekend, and Arsenal are one of the very few teams who don't have a fixture, which is annoying. I mean, there's still a few good games on. You got Man City versus Newcastle in the FA Cup today, which is a pretty good game. Fulham and Tottenham at 5:30. And then tomorrow you got probably the best game of the match weekend. It's Man United versus Liverpool. I think that's a cup game though, but still a good game to watch. You know, and it's not helped by the fact that we don't have football for about 2 or 3 weeks now, which is frustrating. You know, there's going to be limited news stories out there. So, you know, this gives a chance for you guys to let me know what kind of subjects do you want to hear some videos on. You know, give me some ideas as well. So if there's anything that you want to hear me speak on, let me know in the comment section and we can try and make something happen for sure. You know, I think a good subject will be for us to try and work out what are the chances of Arsenal actually going on to win the Premier League this season. But also, what would you prefer to win? As an Arsenal fan now, let me know. If you had the choice this season, you could pick either the Champions League or the Premier League. What one do you go for? You know, it's harder, in my opinion, to probably win the Premier League. But there is an allure of the Champions League. And, you know, being a team that hasn't won it, it definitely sticks out as an option that I I would probably take... Listen, I know there's going to be fans out there saying, what are you talking about? The Premier League is the biggest and prestigious trophy you can win. And I understand that. But I think it's just because we haven't won the Champions League. You know, Arsenal and European competitions, we've always kind of struggled. There should have been a couple of teams where Arsenal teams probably should have done better, probably should have gone on to win the trophy. Now, we have been unlucky in a couple of the finals, but you know, you look at some of the teams we've had over the years: Thierry Henry, Dennis Bergkamp, Pires. That team definitely should have won a Champions League. They probably was unlucky. But even when we was having players like Robin van Persie, we know we was unlucky with what happened. But that's why I would probably go for the Champions League, if I'm being honest, just because I would love to see Arsenal win a European Cup, and then we can't be beaten with that same stick that we are and have been for the last however many years. You know, Arsenal have never won the Champions League. Arsenal are never good enough to win a European trophy. That's why I would pick the Champions League. Now, listen, like I said, the Premier League probably is the more prestigious trophy. You have to play better teams on a more consistent basis. Now, there are some good teams in Europe, but there's also probably a couple of teams from some lesser leagues. You know, some teams, in my opinion, from say the Dutch league. That would be a good example. I think if you bring the Dutch teams into the Premier League, you know, they would probably struggle to get mid-table. In my opinion, that is just my opinion. But the Premier League is so strong that when you do win it, you know, you are probably the best team, certainly in this country, if not probably Europe, because the Premier League is the strongest league in the world. That's just my opinion. I would love to know yours. What would you rather win? You get given the option right now, Premier League or Champions League. Let me know in the comments section. Thanks so much to everyone for watching and listening. But before you go, like I said, please do me the favour, giving me a thumbs up on this video. It helps the channel massively. So just hit like and subscribe, and I'll speak to you all in tomorrow's video. Gooners, have a good day.